لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل، نعم المولى ونعم النصير. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين خالق السماوات والأرض، إلها واحدا أحدا صمدا لم يتخذ صاحبة ولا ولدا، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين رحمة للعالمين طه وياسين بالقاسم محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين المنتجبين، ورحمة الله على محبيهم ولعنة الله على أعدائهم وقاتليهم وغاصب حقوق حقهم ومنكر فضائلهم أجمعين من يومنا هذا إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله سبحانه وتبارك في كتابه الحكيم وفرقانه المجيد وقوله الحق. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون. Respected sisters and brothers, my youngsters, my elders, Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullah. Just before beginning the discussion, I was requested to just remind the Mu'mineen that after the Milad Majlis tonight, there will be a short qasida followed by the presentations for the students. And all of you, inshallah, are requested, urged to remain for that, so that, inshallah, the students who are the recipients of these prestigious honors at least feel that the Mu'mineen stayed. And of course, tomorrow being a holiday for most of us anyways, inshallah, I am hoping and expecting that the program will not inconvenience any of the Mu'mineen. I know that it is a month of Ramadan al-Sharif, and I know that the level of tiredness sometimes is very different for everybody. But if you're able to stay, and we are urged to stay and requested to stay, please do so, inshallah. The second part of, I guess, the administrative part, because in the course of the discussion, the majlis tonight, the milad tonight, I may or may not get the chance, and I just wanted to express my sincere appreciation to the Mu'mineen for all of your kindness, your attention during these very important days and nights of the holy month, whether it was in the majalis, whether it was in the afternoon sessions, the comments, the suggestions, the feedback that I received. I have tried to implement as much as possible. For any of the shortcomings, for any of the errors, I ask, of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness, and I ask the Mu'mineen in case if there was something that I had been not clear or overlooked, or something I might have mentioned or promised or said I would cover and I couldn't, I do sincerely ask for your forgiveness. I want to thank the Tabligh subcommittee for this opportunity that they gave me, particularly Shakil Bhai for making this possible for me to share these nights with you, and to be in your presence and in this prestigious gathering with all of the Mu'mineen. It has been an honor and a pleasure, and I have been humbled by it. The volunteers who have been looking after not only me but the other Mu'mineen, may Allah grant them a great ajr as well. Our elders who make it a point to make it into the majalis no matter what situation, to them may Allah give them a great ajr as well. The caretakers, the people in the audiovisual room, those who have been making everything possible, coming early, staying late to ensure the intizam, the preparations, and the preparations after the majlis to put everything away is done. May Allah give all of them an ajr. And perhaps personally from my own point of view, I want to sincerely thank my host family, the Fazil Karmalis, especially Mehboob Bhai, Chacha, and their families. All of them, from Ali Jawad to Imran to Salman and to Mujtaba, who have kept me like family. In fact, one of the reasons why this Ramadan was not so difficult was because of their kindness and treating me as a complete family member. I had access to the driver, I had access to anything I wanted. And for that, I am truly grateful. May Allah give you and your family ajr and barakah. And I know you've looked after all of the ulama. Allah will give you the ajr and barakah from that, inshallah, Mehboob Bhai and family. And to all of you who have, whether it was, having to call me for iftar, or even thinking of calling me for iftar, or wishing to call me for iftar, or the sehri, or what you call daku, I appreciate that. May Allah give all of you ajr. I am especially appreciative to the youngsters who are sitting so close to me. Baki manen khabar che tamilo ka doro cho tumarathi bhagta so, pan aloka bichara they sit close to me, and they showed a great deal of love and affection to me. And Sibtain Shabir Bhai, who was bringing me to the mimbar every night, may Allah give you ajr for that, inshallah. And those who were the caretakers bringing me the water. I cannot name everybody since my own memory and shortcomings, but everybody who has served in any way and has made my trip here, my stay here as comfortable as possible, I extend my sincere appreciation. I did mention yesterday to Ayatollah Furqani Sahib, Sheikh Shanawaz Sahib, Sheikh Murtaza Sahib, and the others who have guided me and helped me. To them, I deeply extend my appreciation, and I pray that your guidance to myself and the community will continue, and Allah will give you the ajr for the services. And for all of you, I will request all of you to recite one salawat for yourselves as well, inshallah. As I will try and stay within my time limit, inshallah. That was just the preliminary. That is not from my majlis time tonight. What I've said, so please, my time now starts, right? My 40 minutes, inshallah. Because we have some very important and critical things to wrap up and sort of close up from the discussions. As I mentioned, that as the topic was opening up, I did not come with a preset agenda. I wanted to see what the reaction, the responses of the Mu'mineen was. So yesterday when we were talking about the two critical things that have kept the followers of Ahlul Bayt independent and free from the oppressors, free from the governments of the day, free from that, was the marja'iyat, the political, religious, spiritual leadership, and the second is the khums, which was the financial independence and the financial leadership that Islam gave us. Very critical issues. One of the things that many of the Mu'mineen were talking about afterwards, and when as I said, this is my time to get the feedback, that when the marja'iyat is being followed, when we are doing the taqleed of a marja, and I had mentioned that we do taqleed in aspects of our life that we don't even realize it, but the sharia is a very important one because that is our trip to the akhirah. And the question often arises, well, then how does one marja to the next marja? Or what about the marja'iyat? Who becomes a marja? Who decides who is the marja? Well, some of the things that perhaps might be known to some of us, but inshallah, just for the benefit of those who may not be aware, often what happens in almost all the cases amongst the marajiyat, the maraja, there is that understanding of acceptance of each other. So they actually learn to acknowledge their peers as fellow marajas. So for example, Ayatollah Sistani has no doubt in the marjiyat of Ayatollah Khamenei. Ayatollah Khamenei has no doubt in the marjiyat of Ayatollah Safi. They have that understanding amongst each other that they are recognizing each other as marja. And that is why when somebody tries to slip through the cracks and they announce or declare their own marja'iyat, the other maraja will give their opinion or their testimony to that fact. So when one is studying ijtihad, when one is in the dars of ijtihad, which is known as dars kharij, and again the ulama here will be able to give you more enlightenment on that, as I said, because of my timing, and I wanted to get to the main subject for tonight, inshallah, which is the wiladat of Imam Hasan ibn Ali al-Mujtaba alayhi salatu wassalam. So we see that there's that acknowledgement from each other. So when somebody is in Dars Kharij and they shine, their knowledge, their abilities, their perceptions, their cohesiveness, their ability to present the dalail, the evidences, and to explain and teach becomes known, then the teacher actually acknowledges the ijtihad of the student. So for example, Ayatollah Khoi had given his acknowledgement to his students, and including Ayatollah Sistani, Ayatollah Fayyada, and many of the others who are there, Ayatollah Bashir Najafi and others. So the level or certificate, and even our Ayatollah Furqani, who is outside as well, has got his own ijtihad certification. So the teacher gives the authentication to the student. And then amongst the students, when they reach that level from ijtihad or from being a mujtahid to marja'iyat, the acknowledgement is also there. One of the things that often gets asked, and perhaps we also need to be, inshallah, aware of our own fiqh responsibilities, our responsibilities to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we're doing the taqleed of any marja, we need to know who the other maraja are as well. Because when we do the taqleed of whom is referred to as the alam, who is the most knowledgeable, and students often ask, how do we find out who's most knowledgeable? If you go to university, if you go to college, even in high school, you have 5 or 6 professors. You as a student will have an idea as to who is knowledgeable, who is able to present themselves, explain themselves, and teach the class in the most professional and comprehensive way to be able to convey the knowledge. So a student can make a judgment. That is why the first condition or way of finding out who is alam is if you yourself are a student of Islamics. If you yourself know ilm, if you're in the daras, in the hawza, you can make a decision yourself as to which is the alam. 2 adil people, 2 people who might be students of the maraja come and tell you that so-and-so is a'lam, the most knowledgeable. That is the second way. And the third way of knowing the a'lam is if in the community somebody shines out and somebody is well enough respected that you feel in your heart that this person, inshallah, is the a'lam, then any of those is acceptable, and that is then the taqleed that we do. So at the time when we do taqleed, we must remember that just like any other responsibility, any other obligation to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we cannot be forced to do it. We must be satisfied in our own hearts. That means some degree of research is responsible on our part. After we have done the research, then okay, whatever we trust him to do, how to pray namaz, how to give khums, how to do the salat, som and hajj and zakat, that is fine. The initial responsibility is ours. The first stages are ours. And when we have done the taqleed, you'll see again one of the humblenesses of the maraja. So many times in the risala, in the tawdihul masail, they will write that this is ihtiyat wajib, this is ihtiyat haram. The word ihtiyat is often used. That means that the marja is saying that even after 60 years of my research, I'm still not 100%. So on that masail, if you wish, you can refer to somebody else. On that particular, so whenever you see an ihtiyati masail, when it's ihtiyat wajib, ihtiyat mustahab, ihtiyat haram, then you can refer to another marja. So even in our time, if we are following Ayatullah so-and-so, we must know who the other maraja are and at least have an idea as to what their thoughts are on that. So God forbid if our marja was to pass away, immediately we have to change marjaiyat and to do the taqleed of a living marja. And then if that living marja allows us to stay on the marhum, then we can follow and do the actions on that. But any new masail, khums or contemporary issues, we must be following the living marja. And again, this has happened when the wafat of Hazrat Ayatollah Uzma Qasim al-Khoyi had taken place. Some maraja allow staying baki on his masail, on Ayatollah Khoyi's. Some said, no, you have to be in the new. So whatever, this is all something that you have to independently do yourself. So this was the closing points that inshallah I wanted to finish off with. That this was the political, religious, spiritual leadership that kept the follower of Ahlul Bayt alive in these 12 centuries since Ghaibat-e-Imam. And this is what has been attacked ferociously in the last 20 years that I have seen. And this institution has been attacked so much that I have actually heard lectures from professors in our community with my own ears. I'm not telling you koi suni sunai baat, jo ye mere kanon tak awaaz pahunchi hai. They have said that why do you need to do taqleed? Khuda tumhare akal to aayi piche. Taqleed karwani su jarur che. And these are the kinds of instances, these are the kinds of words that are coming into the community. Why? To keep people away from the marjaiyat. Because if the marjaiyat is strong enough, then the community will remain strong. And when the community is strong, all of these enemies that are coming in front of us, those enemies will be immediately shattered completely. You saw in the dua. Why are there attacks everywhere? You look at Iraq, you look at Afghanistan, you look at Pakistan, you look at Bahrain, you look at Syria. Why are these attacks taking place? Because now they have seen that the community of Ahlul Bayt is no longer following the marja the way they used to just 1 generation ago, 2 generations ago. What caused us to survive? There has always been dhulm. There has always been oppression on us. But when they saw that oppression, we can only succeed if the financial independence, the issue of khums is doubted in the minds of the people, and the marja, the leadership of the community is shaken, then there's no more community. Then we can do whatever we want, we can subjugate them. And when we leave these 2 things, remember one thing, we might still be Shias, but we will be Shias by name. We will be like a group of sheep who are without a leader. A group of leaderless. You know, they say it's a rudderless ship. The ship will just go anywhere. There's no rudder to it, there's no guide to it. And that lack of guidance will cause our downfall immediately. And you will see it happen. And you can see it happening in many cases. And I pray, inshallah, that Allah Ta'ala will give us the unity that we require. As we've been making the dua, we ask Allah, as we mentioned, Allahumma inna narghabu ilayka dawlatan karimatin tu'izzu biha al-islam wa ahla wa tudhillu biha al-nifaqa wa ahla. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make fast that government, the government in which Islam, a just, honorable government, a government in the laws of Islam will be there, and Islam and its adherents will be strengthened, and the nifaq, the munafiqeen, the hypocrites will be eliminated, and all those who are the friends of the hypocrites, they'll be annihilated as well, inshallah. One salawat upon Muhammadin ali Muhammad. The dhulm that we see around us, and you see the life of Imam Hassan and Mujtaba, you will see how it was taking place in his time. That what the Imam went through, you'll need to understand what the background is. When we study dhulm, when we study the topic, the subject of oppression, people have come and asked us that the oppression, this injustice, this tyranny, these dictatorships have been such that we are becoming overwhelmed. And one of the other things that has been happening in our community. Yesterday I was mentioning that the community, the society, the non-Muslim society, the media has been instrumental in making us desensitized to sins. We don't consider sins anymore. We don't care what is right and wrong. We're not caring about haram and halal. And so our spiritual values, the feelings that we have in our hearts, the closeness that we can build, especially in the month of Ramadan, in the month of Muharram, that closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watered away, it's diluted. And this is what the institutions that have been bent on destroying our spirituality, this is what they capitalize on. And the second thing that they have done, another thing, I should say, there's many things that they have done, is in the course of trying of diverting us away, they have made us overwhelmed in such a way that we stop praying for the madhlum. In some of the countries, alhamdulillah, not here yet, but in my own country and in some of the Western places I've been to, I've actually had people come to me, mu'minin come to me, and say कि हमें इतनी दुआ करे छे, काई फर्क तो नहीं पड़तो, हमें दुआ करवाज मुकी दिए छे, दुआ करना ही हम छोड़ देंगे, क्यों? इसलिए कि मजालिम बढ़ते जा रहे हैं, क्या हमारी दुआ नहीं सुनी जाती है? And what happens is we become immune. We see on the news what is happening in Palestine. We see on the news what's happening in Syria. We see on the news what's happening in Iraq. We see on the news what's happening to Bahrain. I feel helpless, but hum to kai nahi kar sakta. We become immune to caring. Why did the Prophet of Islam say that a Hakiki Muslim, the one who is from me, he is the one who when he wakes up in the morning, he will care for the affairs of the Muslims. If you don't care for the affairs of the Muslims, فَلَيْسَ مِنِّي قَالَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ. You're not from me. That means no matter how much dhulm is around, we must take the time to still pray and to feel the pain of those who are suffering. Not that we say to ourselves, as some North Americans, as some Europeans have said, in our community, I'm talking about our community, okay, we boys think we can't pray, we don't even turn on the news anymore. Because we know when we turn on the news, it'll be bad news. So what can we do? Nothing. You can do something. You saw just now he recited that we'll be doing Ziyarat Ashura, inshallah. We will be doing the Dua Joshan Saghir. We'll be praying for the Mazlumin, for the Musta'zafin, for those who are suffering. At the time of Hazrat Ibrahim Khalilullah, when the fire of Namrud was burning, and it was burning so high that even birds would be fried at the top. One small bird went near the fire and he had a little drop of water in his mouth. He spit that water into the fire of that fire that Namrud met as Hazrat Ibrahim was flying into the fire. The other birds laughed at him. What are you doing? You're trying to put out this fire that has been burning for 2 years with a little spit of water? Are you mad? The bird replies that I saw the Khalil of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in danger. I saw the Khalil of Allah in danger. I did not have the ability to put out the fire, but I did what I could do. I did what I could do in the circumstances. On the day of Qiyamah, the mu'minin of Dar Islam Jamaat will not be asked, did you overthrow that government? Did you overthrow the Takfiris? Did you overthrow the Wahhabis? Did you do this? You will be asked that you were sitting there in Tanzania. What did you do with the power that you had? If nothing else, did you at least pray for them? Did you at least make dua for them? Did you at least go into sajda and say, Ya Allah, Rabbana la taj'alna ma'al qawmi al-zalimeen. Oh Allah, keep us away from the qawm al-zalimeen. Did we write a letter to our president, our prime minister, our leaders? Did we write a letter or an email, shoot off an email to the United Nations to say that we are concerned? We want the world to take a stand? Did we do whatever we could do? Did we set aside even 1 hour in a week or in a day to do something, to create awareness, to have a letter writing campaign, to start a petition? You may say that these things will all be useless, they will have no, but at least you can say you've done something. Something, so when the malaika ask me and you on the day of judgment, you saw the dhulm, what did you do? You saw the oppression, what did you do? At least we can say, Mawla, I couldn't do anything else. I at least signed my name on the petition. I sent an email. I made a phone call. I wrote a letter. I told a friend about what was happening. The media is not going to be our friend, but whenever we try and take a stand and steps for whatever we can, that will be our answerability, the jawabdari that we have got, inshallah, on the day of judgment. We need to be proactive, not reactive. We need to move forward and make sure that the voice is heard, make sure that our strength is there before waiting for a calamity to happen and then respond to it. We sometimes become contented. My business is going well, everything's going fine. And that was the thought and the ideology when I've been talking from day one about self-development. One of the opposites and counters of self-development is to think of only me, to think of only I, me, myself, and I. Every single day, 10 times, every one of you sitting here, recite Surah Mubarakah Fatiha, at least minimum 10 times a day. I'm not talking about Fatiha Shifa Mariz, then it's 11 times. And then you recite Fatiha, this and that. 12 times, 13, minimum 10 martaba to har roz aap padhte ho. What do we say? We are reciting the surah, Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'een. The noon is there. Oh my Allah, when I am at home and I am praying my Fajr alone, I am alone by myself, nobody else is there, everybody is sleeping, everybody is, I didn't make it to the masjid, and I'm praying Surah Fatiha, then I should be saying, that, oh my Allah, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin, Iyaka a'budu wa Iyaka asta'een. Sheikh Sahab, meri namaz sahi hogi? Children, students, madrasa. What happens to my namaz? Batil, and on top of that I'm committing a Jazakallah. Why? Mawla, Malik, Khalik, oh my Creator, I'm alone. It should be Iyaka a'budu, not Iyaka na'budu. Islam is telling us, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that even if you're praying namaz on your own, even at that time, in the darkness of the night when it's only you in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even then Allah wants you to remember, Iyaka na'budu, Iyaka nasta'een. We are worshipping you. We are asking you for help, not me. Me turns the M upside down and the me becomes we. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Thinking of others, fighting against oppression. That was one of the reasons why the followers of Ahlul Bayt became targets. Because we will not stay quiet when there is dhulm. We will not stay quiet when there is oppression. Imam stood, Imam Hassan stood, Amirul Mu'mineen stood, even Rasulullah at the very beginning of his message stood against oppression. We will not tolerate that. We cannot tolerate that. Our Aqidah and the Aimah will not allow us. Dhulm. What is dhulm? Oppression. Wrong. Injustice. In many of the countries of the world, if I claim to be the president, I go to Canada and I say, I'm the Prime Minister of Canada. If I make my voice too loud, the police will come and arrest me for impersonation. Many countries have that rule. Because I'm coming to a point when people have asked, there's so much oppression, why is Allah allowing this to happen? Why does the Almighty allow this to happen? I'm going to come to a point, inshallah, bi'idhnillah. I announce that I'm the Prime Minister, and I tell people, my friends, I'll be arrested, and then if my mind is known to be sahih, then I will be charged, I will be possibly prosecuted, and I might be in jail, I might have to pay a penalty and all that. Why? Because I said something that was not correct, was not true. I was claiming to be somebody that I am not. And the governments who are, for example, if I've killed somebody, or if I've committed a crime in the country, they will make sure they send out a bulletin to the airports that Mr. Shafiq so-and-so is on the watch list. Don't let him leave the country. Don't let him go on any flight. They put me on the list. So if I go to the airport, you have been accused of murder, go back, we'll take you. People have been arrested on the plane, on the boats, ships, on trains. Because why? The governments of the day know one thing. As long as I am in Canada, the boundaries of Canada, I can be tried and prosecuted according to Canadian law. I have committed a crime against Canada. They need to arrest me in that country. Because if I leave and I go somewhere else, if that country does not have an extradition treaty, then I am free and nobody can do anything to me. So on the one hand, the borders are limited. On the second hand, impersonation is a crime. Just bear with me for a moment. The third thing, once they catch me and they put me in jail, they will make sure that in the jail they don't have things that are dangerous. They will not allow any rope in the jail. Why? Even in some prisons, they will not allow socks. मोज़े भी इजाज़त नहीं है वहाँ पहनने का. क्यों भाई? इसलिए कि अगर रस्सी देंगे, कुछ लंबे कपड़े देंगे, कुछ वायर्स वगैरह होंगे, तो मैं अपने आप को कत्ल कर सकता हूँ. I will commit suicide. And they don't want me to commit suicide because I have to fulfill the punishment, the penalty. If I have been jailed for 10 years, I have to finish the 10 years in jail for the crime that I have committed. So if I kill myself earlier, you should be happy, Papa. You don't have to feed me, you don't have to keep me in the jail, you can make room for somebody else in there. They say, no, 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 you have to pay the punishment. ये तीन बातें जो मैंने कही है सही है ना? आप साथ हो ना? ठीक है. Now we can go forward. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees the dhulm taking place. And He sees the oppression. And today we are crying, we are sad through the relays and the media and the satellites and the ways of the knowledge and information and internet age. We see what is happening in Gaza. We see what is happening in Bahrain and in Syria and in Pakistan and Afghanistan and in Iraq. And we know what is happening. We feel overwhelmed. Ya Allah, so many years and such atrocities are being committed. Ya Allah, what is happening? And Allah Ta'ala in Islam will remind us, history will remind us, that in the time of the Pharaohs, was the dhulm any less? 700 years of the era of the Pharaohs. 14 centuries the dhulm on the Ahlul Bayt followers. Ya Allah, what? Time and space has no matter to Allah. Allah Ta'ala will give a chance to the zalimeen. He will give a chance to the oppressors. Because time and space has no value. Ultimately, you will have to return back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Where will you go? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has even tolerated impersonations. My government will arrest me if I try to impersonate. There were those who sat on the thrones. قال فرعون أنا ربكم الأعلى. Pharaoh didn't claim to be a prime minister, didn't claim to be a president. He claimed to be Allah. He claimed to be God, not only God. أنا ربكم الأعلى. I am the highest God. Oh my Malik, my government will arrest me if I say that. Why are you doing nothing? Allah Ta'ala will reply that where will he go? By making such claims. We know what the haqiqat is. He knows what the haqiqat is. Let him say what he wants. We are not afraid of somebody making these claims. And then, we are not afraid of them making these claims. Ya Allah, why not quickly? Allah Ta'ala will reply that why, what hurry is there? Time and space has got value to you. Time and space has no matter to us. Ultimately, we are not afraid of them committing suicide or killing themselves, because even if they die, they will come back to us. فَكُلُّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةُ الْمَوْتِ ثُمَّ إِلَيْنَا تُرْجَعُونَ. To us you will be brought back anyways. Where will you run to? Where can you hide from? Allah is in no hurry to punish anybody, because He knows ultimately the return is back to Him only, and to Him no matter where you run from. One salawat upon Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. The ultimate return is back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is why you see there's no hurry. For Allah is giving them a chance. How much dhulm will you do? How much will you do? We will give you that opportunity. The worse you do, the worse our punishment will be for you. Those who are suffering, you have been patient. The sabr of the patient is such. The ajr from Allah for the sabirin is such that when Hazrat Zakaria Nabi Allah alayhi salatu wasalam, when Hazrat Nabi Allah Zakaria was being chased by the soldiers of the king, they wanted to cut off his head, they wanted to kill him. When he was running and a tree saw that Allah's Nabi is running from the zalimin, from the oppressors, the tree actually opened up and says, Ya Nabi Allah, enter me, I will give you a shield, I will protect you. Hazrat Nabi Allah Zakaria went inside. The tree closes itself up. Shaitan puts a part of the abba of Zakaria out. The soldiers see that he's disappeared. They see the libas, the cloth, the abba sticking out. They realize Zakaria is inside the tree. They bring a saw. And they begin cutting the tree, sawing the tree in half. Zakaria Nabi Allah is inside that tree. La ilaha illallah. He is about to scream. He is about to cry out. Imagine for a moment somebody is cutting you. You will say, ouch, you will scream. The malaika come and tell him, Ya Zakaria, if you utter a sound, your name will be deleted from the sabirin. If you make a sound, your name will be taken out from the sabirin. Zakaria was cut without uttering even an ouch. That is the maqam of the sabirin. Those who are patient. وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ مَعَ الصَّابِرِينَ. Allah is with the patient. Let the zalimin do whatever they want to do. Let them do whatever they're doing. You be patient. If you're on the receiving end of dhulm, you be patient. But the patience doesn't mean that it is a passive patience. Allahu Akbar. Sometimes in our community this becomes a thought as well. That it doesn't mean that we just sit back and let the dhulm happen as it is happening. If that was the case, then on the Maidan of Karbala, on the plains, on the battlefield of Karbala, Imam Hussein would have told them, look, there's 100,000, 50,000, 60,000 of them. There's only 104, 140 of us. All of you just lie down. Let them come and cut our heads off. The battle of Karbala would have been finished in 15 minutes. Imam says, no. That is not how we know we will be militarily killed. We know that militarily on the plains of Karbala, we will be defeated. But we will not allow a defeat like this. We will go and we will fight. We will ensure that we inflict as much harm on them as they are trying to inflict on us. We will make sure it is a fair fight to the best of our ability. We will not become passive mujahideen. We will become active. Sabr doesn't mean that you just sit back and pray and then sabr. Sabr means whatever is in your capacity you do. Not beyond your capacity, but whatever is in your capacity, you have to do. And you will see that that was where the message of Imam Hassan becomes a powerful light for us today. I often, and this is just my own conclusion, so you do not have to find this in any hadith or riwayah, I'm just saying this from myself. So that's why, on Mimbar, when I'm giving my thoughts or my conclusions or whatever I have reached in my own studies, I share that with you. Whenever it is the Sharia, of course, that is wajib and haram. I have no right to add whatever I want on them. But I feel, inshallah, that in my conclusion, Imam Hassan Mujtaba is perhaps the most mazloom Imam. The most mazloom Imam. You say, what about Karbala? What about Imam Musa Kazim in the prison? What about Imam Hassan al-Asri? Just listen to me for a second. The reason is because the enemies have fought against every one of the Imams, from Imam Ali Murtada to Imam Hassan al-Askari alayhi salatu wasalam. All of them have been fought against their enemies. The problem with Imam Hassan Mujtaba is that we Shias ourselves have not appreciated Mawla. We have not given him the respect that he deserves. And amongst the writers, both Muslim and non-Muslim, Shia and non-Shia, there has been an implication that Imam Hassan was a very passive, calm, peace-loving Imam. He didn't want fights, he didn't want problems. Imam Hussein, and I've read writers who said Imam Hussein was hot-blooded, he was looking for a fight, and that's why what happened in Karbala happened in Karbala. Imam Hassan was very much the opposite. Allahu Akbar. My simple response, there's two kinds of response. One is the simple response. The simple response is that what happened during the first 10 years of Imam Hussein ibn Ali's mission, Imamat. Imam Hassan was shaheed in 50 Hijri. See? Imam Hussein's Imamat took place in 50 Hijri immediately. Karbala took place in 61 Hijri. Ye 1110 saal aur ek mahina. मेरे मौला हुसैन अलैहिस्सलाम की तलवार कहाँ थी? If he was hot-blooded, the time to fight against the Khilafat was much better in the time of Muawiyah than in the time of Yazid. Because at that time, Muawiyah's Khilafat was still being established. It was not as firm as it was 10 years later. If you want to fight somebody, because that's what the enemies did. When they saw that the revolution in the Islamic Republic had just taken place, 1979, Imam Khomeini had just come back. Immediately they instigated their Iraqi friends to go and attack Iran in 1980. Because the revolution was still weak. It had just happened. We don't know if they'll have an army. We don't know if they'll be able to fight. We'll be able to finish them off in 6 months. That was their expectation. 6 months. So when you want to fight, well, you saw what happened, alhamdulillah. When you want to fight, you establish and you fight. A new Khilafat when it's due. Imam Hussein's sword was in the sheath. Imam Hassan had signed a peace treaty. Zakir Bhai Ilaka in his writings wrote, he said this was not an abdication. It was a peace treaty. Not a peace treaty because it was a humiliation or a surrender. It was a peace treaty to save the Muslim community from complete catastrophe. Each and every one of our imams did not care about their personalities or what people will say about them. They care about what was required for the sake of the ummah at that time. The Amir al-Mu'mineen acted the same way at the beginning of his imamat. When somebody at the caliber of Abu Sufyan comes to him at the very beginning, just after the first Khalifa is selected at Saqifa. And Abu Sufyan comes to him and says, Ya Ali, they have taken your haqq. I will get 1,000 soldiers ready, we'll cut off his head and we'll give you your Khilafat back. We'll give you your Khilafat back. How nice of an offer, hai na? Kitni pyari, achhi offer, hai na? Agar main hota to haan bolte tha, chalo, mere saath do, chalo, hum kar lenge. Mawla Ali looks at him and says, since when do you have the love of Islam? Since when do you have the love of Islam? And Imam refused. He said that was not what was required for the community, the ummah at the time. Zalimeen, dhulm comes in different forms. The first form of dhulm you see in the beginning of Imam Ali's imamat is that those will pretend to be your friends and will instigate you to do something against Islam, against the community, against the betterment. You see that in the form of Abu Sufyan. He didn't come in the form of an enemy. In English they say it is a wolf in sheep's clothing. Those are sometimes the worst enemies that we have. The wolves who come to us in sheep's clothing. So you see how they came. So Imam Hassan has the treaty. He sees the situation unfolding around him. He signs the treaty. Why I said that Imam Hassan was very mazloom and is probably the most mazloom Imam? Because as he would be walking in the streets of Medina, do you know how the Muslims would greet him? Astaghfirullah Rabbi wa atubu ilayh. It is a shame for me to say this from the mimbar, but you can read it in the book. They would say, Assalamu alayka ya mudhill al-mu'mineen. Inna lillahi wa inna. Peace be upon you, disgracer of the Muslims. The same people who didn't want to give him support are saying that to him. The treaty at least allowed the people to be breathing without having a constant war. Jamal, Siffin, Nehrawan, one after another. Not battles with outsiders, with greater Muslim, battles within the community itself. Imam Hassan's treaty was what allowed the Muslims to be able to at least have that breathing space. And the vision of the Imam was something much deeper. The Imam wanted to expose Muawiyah for what Muawiyah was. And one of the ways of doing that is by having some sort of an agreement in which the Imam and Ma'asum fulfilled to the letter that Muawiyah took out in Kufa as well as in Damascus. He takes the paper that the treaty was on, his own signature, and in the signature of Imam Hassan, he puts it on the floor and he steps on the treaty. He says, I didn't fight you because I wanted you to pray namaz and to fast and go for Hajj. You are doing that anyways. I fought you because I wanted to be your Khalifa. I wanted to be your leader. The first step of exposing Muawiyah was right there. You know how he did the treaty? He signed his name on a blank sheet and he gives it to Imam Hassan. He says, you fill in the treaty. You do whatever you want. You fill in whatever you want. That's another sign of somebody not fulfilling. Because what is the treaty? You negotiate, both sides sit and decide what they want to achieve in that treaty. What is the purpose of it? Muawiyah's only purpose was, I want to be the Khalifa. I want that power. Bas, finish. Khalas. Kuch aur nahi chahiye. Imam had to expose it. Up until that time, the people were still blinded by the light of this money, the wealth, the gold, the entourage of Muawiyah and the Banu Umayyah. Imam had to expose it. That 10 years that the Imam, from the time of the Shahadat of Amirul Mu'mineen in 40 Hijri, Imam had to expose that step by step, stage by stage. It took that much time. Those who were claiming that Imam Hassan was not a military fighter, that's why he did the treaty and all that, they have seen something, they have not seen the reality. If you look at the last stage, when the third Khalifa was being embargoed by the people of Egypt and others, and they had decided that we will not even let food or water go into the Khalifa's house. But because of what had happened, they were so angry that they just wanted to kill him and under any circumstances. And they didn't want to just kill him, they wanted to starve him to death. Water and food was not allowed. You know what your Mawla does? You know what Amirul Mu'mineen does? He sends Hassan alayhi salatu wasalam and Imam Hussein on certain instances, they go on top of the rooftops into the house of Uthman ibn Affan to give him food and water. That is your Mawla. That is the karamat of your Mawla. That is the caringness. But when it came to food and water, he said, no, Hassan, you imagine for a moment, they want to kill Uthman. Imam Hassan is the one who is saving him by bringing him water and food. Imagine how angry they would get at him. Imagine what they would do. Imagine the bravery of Imam Hassan and Mujtaba to go in the midst of those kinds of people just to give food. That's not bravery. You're saying Imam Hassan was weak? 10 years of Imam Hussein's Khilafat. Very peace, quiet time. And I'm not saying quiet in the sense that Imam was doing nothing. No, na'udhu billah. Imam was doing tabligh in his own way. Imam Hassan in those 10 years, Imam Hussein in the first 10 years, that 20-year period. Again, I don't have time to go into the depths of the history. What I wanted to say was that the Imam's treaty at least allowed it. And when we see the treaty of Hudaybiyah, we see the treaty that Amir al-Mu'mineen signed after the Battle of Siffin. You see the Imam Hassan's treaty. Imam Ali, some don't refer to it as a treaty, but just basically the negotiation, arbitration that was taking place. Imam Hassan's treaty after the Shahadat of Amir al-Mu'mineen. All of that gave the believers some time to reflect, to think. And it gave the instigators of the treaty a chance to be able to be known as to what they are trying to achieve. And when the Ma'asum or the followers of the Ma'asumeen engage in treaties with those who are the enemies, those who are the tyrants, it is to show the world that, look, we will be honest and our integrity will not be in doubt. But their integrity and their truthfulness will be at stake. So even today when we see our ulama, our maraja, whether it's the wali faqir, whether it is the marja taqleed, telling the believers that, look, there will be some times, some instances, some cases where we may need to work with those who ideologically may not be fully compatible with us, but at least for the zamana that we are in, we need to work together. Tomorrow we'll sort out our differences, but there is a much more severe, a much more serious threat in front of us. Let us confront that threat first. That is one of the reasons in their vision and their foresight. Our ulama and our maraja have said very clearly that even when you are talking about the early history of Islam, you are talking about Azwaj Rasul, you're talking about the Khulafa, you're talking about certain companions. Be careful in the terminology used, because whatever you may say in London, England, will affect the people in Karachi, Pakistan. What you might speak in Washington, D.C. will affect the people of Afghanistan. The Shias will be butchered. ठीक है, हमको पता है ये सिर्फ बहाना होते हैं, सिर्फ excuses होते हैं, लेकिन इसको excuse देना नहीं चाहिए. The Quran Majid says that be careful, don't attack their idols and their false gods, because if you attack their false gods, they will attack your real Allah. They will attack your Nabi. So to an extent, we have no choice but to work with people that we may not see eye to eye with all the time. With the mainstream Ahl Sunnah, who are not evil, who have the love of Ahlul Bayt. In the early days of Muharram, I was in Addis Ababa last year. And in the Majlis Azah for Sayyid al-Shuhada, we had just as many Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'at coming in those Majalis as there were Shias in that Majlis. Sufis were coming, others were coming. Why? They have the love of Ahlul Bayt. They have the love of Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. They have the respect and love of Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam. We want to work with those people. We want to work with them. We've got not because of political motivations, but because we have an ideological similarity for that moment. We need to work together because the mushrikeen, the idols, the zalimeen, the oppressors, they don't care who is Shia and who is Sunni. They just want to annihilate haqq in any way, shape or form whatsoever. We must stay firm on the haqq and work with those who are inshallah able to work with us. One salawat upon Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. This is why our community is at a crossroads right now. The majalis that we have had sometimes have been difficult. I know the mu'mineen might have had difficulty listening and bearing what I have to say. And nobody likes to be the bearer of bad news, but the reality is in front of us. The haqiqat is in front of us. And we have to respond to the era of the time. And we have to see what our A'immah have taught us. And the life of Imam Hassan and Mujtaba was one of sabr, one of forbearance, one of strength. When people would come to him and insult him, they would insult the Imam in such horrendous ways. You know what the Imam's response was? They would accuse the Imam of so many things. You know what the Imam's response was? If you are correct, may Allah forgive me. If you are incorrect, may Allah forgive you. Doesn't it take courage to say that? Doesn't it take a heart to say that? And a man comes from Damascus, abusing the Imam, abusing the family of the Imam, and saying horrendous things about the Imam to the Imam. The companions of the Imam draw their swords ready to cut his head off. Just the ishara of the Imam is all they're waiting for. The Imam says, wait. He says to that man, you must be a musafir. You must be visiting Medina. You must be visiting here. In case you have no place to stay, you can stay at my house free of charge. If you're hungry, there's food on my dastarkhan. In case if you're short on clothes, I will give you whatever clothes you want. If you don't have enough money, come, I will give you some money. Come home. When he finished hearing this response of Imam Mujtaba alayhi salatu wasalam, he falls at the feet of the Imam and he says, Anta waliyullahi haqqan. You are the true wali of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That akhlaq, that level of dignity, of teaching. What lesson do we have? What lesson do we take? We become angry, we become fighting, we want to fight with everybody and anybody who's in front of us, who says the slightest disrespectful thing. Where is the lesson of Imam Hassan? Where is the sabr of Imam Hassan? Where is the jihad of Imam Hassan? You see why I call him a Mazlum, the most Mazlum Imam? Because we ourselves have neglected him. We've not taken a lesson from his life. And we see that right up throughout his life. When he was serving, and as I had mentioned, his tabligh was in a different form whatsoever. The poor, the needy, the destitute would all be there. And that's why the attacks on him were so great. They attacked him. They accused him of having numerous wives. They accused him of being luxurious. He just wanted money. He was receiving a stipend from Muawiyah. He was receiving a pension. And because all sorts of just completely shallow, senseless accusations against Imam Mujtaba. Those will be our status. We'll be accused of things as well. The world is accusing us. They're not Muslims, they're this, they're that. We have seen this in history. Inshallah, we pray and hope that Imam Hassan's life will guide us and be that shining goal for us, inshallah, to be able to follow. And inshallah, we pray that we will acquire the lesson and the sabr of Imam Hassan and the jihad of Imam Hassan. That if it is required for us to stand, we will stand. If it's required for us to do the jihad sitting, we will do it sitting, inshallah. The Prophet had said, Hassan and Hussein are imams, whether they are standing or whether they are sitting. Whether they are in jihad, open jihad, or whether they are in jihad akbar. Whichever of the positions. We pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, especially in this holy month of Ramadan al-Sharif, will forgive our sins. Give us the tawfiq to remain away from sins. Give us the ability to have the sabr of Imam Hassan and the jihad of Imam Hassan and to apply it inshallah in our lives. We ask Allah to protect our mu'mineen, protect the holy shrines, protect all those who are suffering in any shape, whether they're Muslims or non-Muslims, and grant them sabr inshallah, and grant them the ability to fight against the oppressors, and may Allah hasten the downfall of the oppressors inshallah. We ask Allah to protect our ulama or Amaraja who are serving while the Imam is in occultation, and to hasten the return of our Mawla Imam al-Hujjah Ajjalallahu ta'ala dhuhruhu, to establish equality, truth and justice in this world. We will join together, all of us inshallah, and recite 5 times Amayju for those who are ill, for Allah ta'ala to give them shifa, for our hajjat to be accepted, for the hifazat of Imam al-Zamana, for the safety and the security of the holy shrines. There is actually a news that Shakil Bhai had conveyed to me that one of our youngsters has been kidnapped in Madagascar, and he is a young boy of 13 years of age, a diabetic. He's on insulin. Even though the ransom has been paid, there's no news on him. Inshallah, for his safe return back to his parents, and for the protection, the safety and security of the mu'mineen who are suffering in Pakistan, in Palestine, in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Syria, in Bahrain, in Eastern Hijaz, wherever the movements against the followers of Ahlul Bayt in Indonesia, Malaysia, for all of them, inshallah, if we can all recite, join together and recite, inshallah, with our hearts, our souls, our spirits together, 5 times. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Even though it is a wiladat, I am going to request the mu'mineen to recite one surah Fatiha for the marhumin who are no longer with us. Al-Fatiha. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Malik yawm. Kana na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal ladhina an'amta 'alayhim ghayril maghdubi 'alayhim waladdallin. Sadaqallahu al-'aliyyul 'azim. One salawat upon Muhammad and Ali Muhammad.